Heyo! Welcome to the Industry Idiots podcast. Turns out you're listening to last week's episode. You can listen to today's episode if you head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/industryidiots. For supporting, you'll get it a week early and access to one Patreon exclusive episode each month. Either way, thank you and enjoy this episode. Bye! Hi Sven, hi.
Hi Sam, how you doing? Welcome to the third episode.
Doing fine, a little bit. I caught a cold, so my voice is a little raspy. I hope you guys don't mind.
You sure it's the cold and not some other stuff?
Hopefully only the cold. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. Wash your hands, guys. Easy peasy. But we don't want to talk about Corona on this podcast because everyone's talking about it. You can see it everywhere. We want it to be a nice little escape. You can listen to us and don't think about that. Except, of course, if it is affecting a games topic. So we might talk about the cancellation of events soon. But
well, now you already dropped the first topic. The cancellation of all the events. Even E3 just got cancelled. Like the biggest gaming event in the industry. And all the other conferences next to GDC, German Dev Days, and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, German Dev Days, we have E3, we have GDC, we have the NVIDIA conference is now online, EA, everything is cancelled. I mean, it makes sense, right? Of course, everyone is mad, all the indies, all the people who have their stands on booths, right? Cost money, hotel stays, and everyone is kind of affected. But also, it's the right thing to do because you wanna drag out the curve and not make people sick.
Yeah, flatten the curves, the term that is floating around everywhere. So Keep that in mind, everyone. And let's move on from Corona. Hopefully the virus moves on from the world as well as quickly as possible.
That would be cool. Yeah, I agree. I want to quickly talk about what the ultimate goal of this podcast is, even, right? So we're aiming for, so you guys understand, we have this one Patreon goal that is, we want to do 2 episodes each week. And that's our goal, that we want to get there where we can, because we really love doing this and we enjoy just talking to each other with you guys over what's happening in the games industry, giving you a little peek behind the curtain. And yeah, we just want to be able to get to a point where we can do 2 episodes and where we can afford the backup while recording, because I'm always shaking. No server backup for the recording while we're recording. Whew.
And fingers crossed for every episode. Oh, hopefully there are no technical difficulties when saving and exporting and uploading, and then maybe our PC crash. Yeah, it's very low-key hardware problems. But even though my microphone problem is hopefully fixed by now, did some tweaks, and now I'll probably jinxed it. It's gonna totally happen again in the next 5 minutes. But fingers crossed, not gonna happen. So we can keep doing the podcast.
Well, that sounds fixed for now. How are you doing? What happened in your week, Sven?
I'm doing fine. A little bit stuff going on at work, and also played a lot of games on the Xbox Game Pass in the meantime, because my subscription is running out. I just noticed 5 days ago, so I've given a lot of games the first try of playing it for about an hour. For example, here Lonely Mountains Downhill and Oxenfree, and also Outer Worlds, which is also in the Game Pass. It's not sponsored or advertising anyway, just to clarify. Just mentioning those. Yeah.
How did you like those games?
I enjoyed all of them. I'm a sucker for the old school type of RPG games. So naturally, Outer Worlds was very enjoyable for me. It reminded me a lot of the old Obsidian games when they did like Fallout New Vegas, and also they did the sequel to Knights of the Old Republic. And you can see a lot of elements and features they are reusing since for like 20 years now, I guess. Like you have this crew you can assemble around your main characters. You have this one cruise ship or hub where you select between missions and worlds you want to go and stuff like that. So it's reminding me a lot about the previous Obsidian games. So yeah, it's also very immersive, and the world is pretty well done and well realized. It has this capitalism critique splattered throughout all the game elements. So it's a very comedic game as well. So very enjoyable for me.
Well, you recommended it to me and I started it too. I'm a big Fallout fan. Not anymore since Fallout 4, and the Fallout Online fiasco. No, but before that, I played Fallout 3 with my best mate growing up. We were always meeting with each other with cookies and milk. I know, hardcore at my place. So we played through it together, like 200 hours. And I always thought I enjoy the freedom I have in those games. But now with the new title, they put it to max. They put it to max level. You can kill everyone, and it's just too much for me. It's consuming my mind while playing. I'm a player who, if I see this bad guy, all right, of course I'm gonna kill him. If he's being a dick, I'm gonna fucking kill him. All right, and he's a big quest giver. Right, the first guy you meet in the game behind his desk, and he's super rude to that girl worker. And I just immediately kill him and kill both the guards as well. And then I'm like there.
But what if you wanna play the bad guy and not be the good guy killing all the bad guys? Then you will probably want to have the freedom. Even though I just recently read this one Twitter post from one of the developers that was involved in the Mass Effect series, and
I just wanted to say the same.
Yeah. He posted the statistic that maybe about 10 or at a maximum 15% of all players played as a bad guy, and like 85% or 95% played as a good guy. And there was so much content in the Mass Effect series where you could play as a bad guy, which only like 5% of the players saw.
Mm-hmm. So. He said in this tweet that he was a little bit sad because his team spent as much effort into the bad guy campaign as they did with the good guy campaign, but only a handful of players actually experienced it. And it's hard, right? These games, I mean, I'm already morally a gray person. I'm very logical, so I wouldn't describe myself as going the empathetic way automatically. I more or less go the logical way. But I too struggle with. I could never go the dark way, where you just go around killing people. I'm missing so much content, and it just feels bad as well.
And you're not necessarily the bad way is not always written as entirely like, okay, you have clear motivations for being this bad person. But most of the time, it's just written in being overly and extremely rude to people and just calling them out and just hitting on them in a bad way and not following your maybe bad goals in a greater context.
I think if you design the game's bad way around personality traits that are seen as bad by the general population, but it's not seen as bad by the people having those personality traits like narcissism and just egomaniacs and psychopaths, I think then you're going the right direction with making a game about a bad character that people can actually choose and not feel bad picking, even though they're still a bad person. But I would feel less bad if I pick goals and ways to further my own personal goal. And then, that's more of a believable bad way than, okay, I'm just gonna go around the city and kill all the children in the city. There you go, I'm bad now.
Where's the difference when you play a good guy and murdering tens of thousands of people? Prime example, Uncharted. You're Nathan Drake. You're Nathan Drake, this kind of good guy, saving the world. And then throughout the course of the game, you murder about 1,000 people. And he's still smiling and cracking jokes like Han Solo.
And what's even worse about it is the hypocrisy the character has. The character is constantly on about not being a bad guy, and just like even when you meet the bosses in the game and the villains, he shows mercy, and he's morally gray, white, but in the other part of the game, all these hired goons who are just regular people who just need to earn some money, they just get fucking butchered by him. But it's the same with the Arrow TV series. He makes a point about sparing the villains, but kills all the people he has hired as guards for his building, like security guards.
All the goons are always gone first and in masses.
Yeah. Exactly. And your brother's Index arrived, I've heard.
Oh yeah, he sent me some pictures about it, trying it out, and it looks fantastic. I'm kind of jealous because I want to try it out as well. Now with Half-Life Alyx right around the corner. Oh, probably, man. I think even having already released once this episode hits Spotify and all the other channels. So it's out on the wild. I think this one is going out on the 24th and Alex is releasing a day before.
Oh yeah, true.
So everyone who is listening to this can already enjoy Alex. Hello from the past and to the future.
Yes. Tell us what you thought about Alex, by the way. So we can, like, my index is still 7 weeks away when I press the order button. If I by then can afford it.
Well, mine just
I'm trying.
Canceled yesterday for no reason. I sent you the screenshot. I still haven't talked to the Valve support or the Steam support, so I'm gonna investigate there. But I guess I have to reorder it. So
yeah, what a unique. They opened their Valve Index ability to buy it essentially on a Monday, I think, on 7 or 6 o'clock, and you press the button, and there's no confirmation, right? It just you press the button, buy. And then it says, okay, order received, we'll contact you with payment. And there's no edit to cart or a confirmation, nothing's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Was kind of surprised as well when we hit on the button and you were so, okay, index is being shipped in 7 weeks, get prepared, get some money together, we're going to charge you then if you have the money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
kind of building up the pressure. All right.
But I'm surprised that the demand is high, right? I pressed the button at, I think, 6:20, so 20 minutes after they opened the button. And my waiting time is 7 weeks. And your brother pressed immediately, right? And he has this already. So his waiting time was a week max.
Yeah. And I was 5 minutes late to him. So my waiting time initially was also 7 weeks. So you had like a time span of 5 minutes to get it.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Always
but it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's with all tech. I mean, remember the first iPhones? I think it's still the case, but it was worse back in the day. How far people lined up to get those iPhones. And I remember the hype about the Google Glass. It's crazy.
Oh boy, everybody forgot about the Google Glass.
Yeah. Where are my AR glasses, guys?
It's coming up.
I want to have an overlay.
Once they get fashionable and lightweight and won't be a burden to wear, then probably it comes back in some capacity.
Hopefully.
Or even AR contact lenses. Who knows?
I want to walk through the city and then, for example, I'm in a city I have never been and there's this monument or this statue I like. I want to look at the statue and the glasses to automatically recognize and overlay what this statue is depicting or who made it and that kind of stuff. And I know privacy concerns and tracking and whatnot, but as long as you can opt in and out, I'm fine with it.
And then there's probably gonna be a gazillion ads everywhere in the virtual realm. You just walk down the street and on top of the shop advertisings, you also see some neon rendered advertisings. Just overkill.
Well, welcome to Cyberpunk.
Welcome to Cyberpunk. Yeah. Some dystopian stuff going on there. This is what's going to await us.
I've always been into cracking devices. So ever since I can think, I cracked the original PlayStation 3, the PS Vita, the PlayStation Portable, the jailbroken the iPhone. I'm sure something like that will be possible with the glasses as well. And then you just ad block that shit out of them.
Oh, your visual ad blocker. Yeah, that's a fancy idea. Might as well patent that.
I've tried the. I was so surprised that the Google app had this. I downloaded the Google Translate app, and there's this photo button in the app, and you press the photo button and you just aim the camera at something. Might be your bottle of lager beer or whatever you have, and you aim it at it, and it not only matches the font, but it auto detects language and translates what the camera is seeing. So you're looking at the bottle you're looking at through your camera, and it's translated into your language, which is mind-blowing.
What? That's insane. I've never heard about this. Is this already a public feature or
you
some
can do
hidden beta group?
No. Guys, download the Google Translate app and press the camera button. You can try it out. It's crazy. I think there was an app before and Google bought it, and that's how they got the technology. But this is the kind of shit I want to see when wearing AR glasses.
All the traffic signs and all the direction and location indicators and stuff like street signs being translated, and you find your way around even without Google Maps. That would be
reading a Japanese menu, right?
Oh yeah, in the restaurant.
Easy.
That's a good point. But I think it's a very similar app to the image recognition and the machine detecting what's going on in the image, putting it into context, and then making use of it. There's this Microsoft app where you can solve math equations by photographing what you have written down on a paper, and it scans everything, and then it's like all the problems somebody might have had in high school in math or in homework, it's like disappearing within seconds, just holding your smartphone over your exercise piece of paper, and then okay, it's done. Thank you, Microsoft.
But it's a games podcast, right? It's a Sven and Sam podcast. We're just chilling, talking, doing what we do all day anyway. But how can this be gamified? I see obvious applications are Pokemon Go kind of games, right? That superimpose just stuff that you can catch, and you're being rewarded for walking, running around, going to specific places. But what else can be done?
You mean in terms of having similar apps?
No, in terms of games for glasses systems.
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe some shape matching stuff where you have turn on any mini game, and then the device offers you a random type of shape, and then you search for something in the real world where you can match the shape over, or something like how you call it in English?
I don't know.
The Schnitzeljagd term. I'm not sure. Treasure hunt. It's probably the
yeah, treasure hunt. Yeah.
Like a treasure
that's
hunt thing.
cool. Interactive treasure hunt experience that you can program for people. That's cool. Yeah. Have you tried the HoloLens?
I haven't. I've only seen the crazy marketing videos like for 4 years ago. It looked insane, and then I read everywhere that it was nowhere near how they marketed it, and then it got kind of quiet and silent about it for about 2 years. Is there anything new?
I was at the VR meetup in Berlin, where I currently live, and they were showing or bringing the HoloLens 2. And I've already tried the HoloLens 1 as well on a past VR convention. And for everyone out there who has not heard about the HoloLens, it's a 1,300 whatever euro, super expensive augmented reality device. So it's not virtual reality. It's not putting you into an enclosed vision where you only see that, but it's augmenting on top of what you are seeing, just like the Google glasses, just what we talked about. And what I find really interesting, and probably is up your alley as well, is the level design approach to things. It's being pushed by architects a lot, and by interior designers. So essentially you put the glasses on, and the other people put the glasses on as well. And you're standing in a room, and you can place objects in the room, right? So when you're in a kitchen, for example, you can design your kitchen. That's what the industry approach is. And the guy who's the professional from the company is bringing you all these models and assets that are prepared and places them with you in this virtual space, and you see it. You can walk around. You see him in the virtual space.
Is everybody seeing the same stuff? Like if you
everyone's seeing the same stuff.
Okay,
you can walk around of it. You can have a little model, or you can click on it, and then it gets like real life size. That's super cool. And you can use the same things to design levels, right? Let's imagine you're in an airplane hangar, right? In a big open space. And you as a level designer have to design a level, let's say, I don't know, for Uncharted, one of the jungle tracks. And then you have all the assets available to you if you're working at Naughty Dog, and you can place them while you're walking in reality through the level. So you can make the most immersive level design experience of your entire life.
I mean, first you're probably gonna only place a lot of white boxes and planes and mock-up assets, and then the artists come in and do all the fancy jungle stuff. But yeah, it would be nice for getting a feeling of, does the spacing feel right? Do the proportions feel right? And for sure, from an architecture standpoint, it adds a lot to the immersion while creating. So you immediately get like, you don't really need as intricate feedback from others because you're already in the space. You can feel it yourself. So pretty cool if that's gonna happen.
It's already happening. It already works. The only problem is the price point of the device, and the field of view is very small because it's a holographic image that you see in your vision. So guys, just imagine you're holding a coin in front of your eyes, and this size of the coin that the size of the coin takes in your vision is how big the screen essentially is. So it's still very small.
Does it feel smaller than normal glasses? Because I'm a glasses type myself, and I don't feel in any way.
The thing is, it's not limiting your vision. You see normal, you see everything, but the screen, like where the holographic image is in your vision, is just the size of a coin. So it's if you're wearing glasses, the screen is 1/3 of the glasses, but you can still around that you see the normal surroundings, but it's still a little bit annoying.
Okay, I didn't know that. But speaking of Naughty Dog, have you read the article by Jason Schreier about their crunch and working conditions? That was intense, man.
You couldn't miss that, right? Naughty Dog has always been hailed and as one of the like best studios to work in. Glassdoor reviews are pretty good, and now this big article comes out. You wanna sum up in your own words what happened in the article, or who even Jonathan Cooper is?
I think Jonathan Cooper was a former employee for them, and he posted his opinions about the crunch situation after the article got published, I think. But the article largely covers the same stuff that Jason Schreier already covered like 3 or 4 years ago in his book, the Blood, Sweat and Pickles one. I don't know if you have read it, but there's like a whole chapter dedicated to the production of Uncharted 4 and all the trials and tribulations they had throughout the production. They had a direction change, a vision change in the middle of the production, all this stuff. And basically nothing has changed in the 4 years after they shipped Uncharted in 2016, and now we're in 2020, and the same stuff happened in Last of Us Part 2. Developers are crunching like hell to meet the milestones and deadlines, and yeah, it's kind of a very unhealthy situation. And if you imagine you have been, for example, in Naughty Dog, it's not the only studio doing the heavy crunch thing, but imagine you have been there for 15 years. You have basically worked roughly 14 years in your career on crunch mode, with some small drips in between where you have like after projects, the vacation stuff. And it's like
so draining.
It's probably killing a lot of people from a mental perspective.
Whoever has worked in crunch just generally knows how this feels. Not even for multiple years. You notice crunch affecting you personally after a month of it. It's physically and emotionally, mentally draining, and should definitely be avoided. I mean, one of the comments I read under the post was that the only reason why the games are so fantastically made and animated and everything is because of Sony's deep pocket expanding deadlines, right? They have so much money, they just pour that in, but they only do this after the fact. Okay, we can't reach this deadline. We crunched hard to reach this deadline. We couldn't reach it. Okay, now Sony brings money and we extend the deadline. But if they would just like be more generous in their planning for their milestones,
well,
maybe that wouldn't happen.
The thing is, they don't really have people who do the detailed, meticulous planning. They don't have producers at Naughty Dog. And
even worse, they use the level designers.
They use the level designers as producers. That's true. At least from what I've read as well. I can't remember the exact same quote, but the president said that that this system they are having in place, that everyone is his own producer, basically a little bit. So you have more ownership of the whole thing, and then you are more motivated to really fight for the features you want to have in there. And then there's in no way like planning or crunch enforced from the top down thing. It's more expected of you that you take the ownership, and then there are so many people working there who working in their dream careers, and they will do anything to get the most and best possible result out of their specialization or field, what they are working on in the game. And then they naturally keep on doing it despite the working conditions, despite the tight scheduling, despite what's being asked of them or not being asked of them. They just fight for it and live the dream or the nightmare. It's a little bit of both.
It's a bit of both, yeah. I mean, pulling yourself away from crunch, because the problem is, from the outside, crunch looks, objectively bad, right? How can you want to live like this? But when you're inside, when you're working the job you love, what I hear people frequently say from the industry as well, they say, I'm not crunching, I do what I love. I just work 12 hours because I love doing it. For me, it's not work. Yeah, okay, mentally maybe, but your body disagrees. You need to do stuff to free your mind. You need to do some exercise, whatever. Live your life outside of the job as well. You can't just put 12 hours in for 10 years and then burn out and be unhappy.
Yeah, that's true. But it's probably not everyone thinking that way. But I think for Naughty Dog, it might be the case, because they always say when hiring people, at least that's what you hear, is that they are specifically looking for people who are willing to go this extra mile, for looking for people who don't see this as some kind of big commitment, that it just comes natural to them to be in the trenches as much and work as much to get those little details of the game going that makes it much more special than some other games maybe.
Well, I feel this, right? I'm an absolute workaholic, as you know, and I identify as one of the people saying, yeah, it's not work for me, it's fun. So, I mean, you have to be. If you found a company, you have to stay in the company from, you're the first one there, you're the last one to go. It's just, it consumes your life. And if I picture working in a AAA production of an IP or a studio that I like, dude, I would go so hard. People wouldn't if the studio had a gym and a bed, I'd probably never leave the studio. So I do understand where this mindset is coming from, because I share it. But on the other hand, I understand why it's unhealthy, right?
Well, if it's anything like the last 2 weeks of your project push, where I barely couldn't reach you via telephone in these 2 weeks because you were just in the tunnel, in the funnel, well, at some point it kind of gets unhealthy, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, thankfully we have, it's our first big production, big indie production. So we are still learning, and we have reduced you don't, like the producers, or in my case, like the studio heads or creative directors, we don't plan for crunch to, like, we don't on purpose make crunch happen, right? We plan, and we plan with space and with I don't know, fallback,
some
time
threshold.
zones, and some threshold, yes. But it's a production. Shit happens. And sometimes you're out of time, and the publisher wants something done on this date. So you have to crunch, or you're not meeting the deadline, and you're losing your money and your publisher. And those are things that you have to stick to the project, right? And this is how crunch happens in all productions. And I think that's okay. And as long as you aim for improving your planning in general, and you learn from it, it's okay. But if you repeatedly and for years and months on end put people into crunch mode, this is where it ends, whether the fun or tolerance should end, in my opinion.
Do you think there's a specific point we, as like taking the customer perspective, should not continue to support companies that don't seem to learn and keep improving the conditions for their workers? Like, for example, I'm a super big Last of Us fanboy. I even have it as a desktop wallpaper right now. And then
I know it's your dream to work at Naughty Dog.
Maybe at some point, but only if they improve their culture. Well, probably blacklisted now for saying this. But of course, you always want to work on some great product or some great game idea and project, and you do naturally everything to be in a position to work for that. Sure.
Where I draw the line, I don't know. I don't think as long as the company is transparent, right? There's companies out there like Tesla. Tesla, when you go to Tesla and you work for Elon, you know what the hell you're signing up for, right? You're not signing up for working 8-hour days and going home to your family. You're signing up for working 12, 13-hour days and revolutionizing the world, right? Changing the world. So, at least that's their mantra. Let's just let that stand and not argue about if they are changing the world, but that's what they intend, and that's what the workers they want. Of course, it's unethical if you work there without wanting that. But as long as a company is transparent, I don't see as big of a problem with it. If a company like, I don't know, you don't go to a AAA studio to work, probably don't to work a chill job. You go to a AAA studio because you want to build something big and exciting that excites millions of people, is an amazing experience. And that requires some sacrifices. But it shouldn't require so many sacrifices that you can't have a family life or a healthy life apart from your job. So there must be a healthy balance.
But wouldn't you say that if you work more than 8 hours, the additional 2 or 3 hours you can put in are probably of a lesser quality of work you can deliver in these hours? Like the longer you work, the less focused your brain is, and then you are more prone to make mistakes. Just imagine you're still at the studio in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., you're still writing some code and you already have worked for 12 hours. Then of course are more likely to make mistakes. And that's exactly the reason why maybe some Japanese companies now trying out the 4-day work week and expecting much more focused work in a less amount of time. The employees get more time off, and then
that you're contradicting yourself there a little bit, Sven, because what Japanese companies are doing, because I researched this because we wanted to try it in our studio. What Japanese companies are doing, yes, they're doing a 4-day work week, but those 4 days are each 10 hours. So
okay.
They are in
That's the part I missed.
working. Yeah, I'm just saying, it depends on the person, you know. I can work 10 hours, and the 10 hours, of course, there will be half an hour of lunch somewhere, okay, to recharge batteries. But if I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone, and I don't want to be pulled out of the zone. Many programmers feel the same way. Many artists feel the same way, especially concept artists, because when they're in their mindset, in their space, they don't want to get pulled out, and they would probably prefer working 10-hour days and 1 day less. But then you have jobs like producers and kind of what we did, or what especially you did at ProSieben, producers who have to deal with non-stop human contact. You have to make people who of all different personalities and personality traits work with each other. And some traits are so hard to match that it's a nerve-wracking, tedious job. And these jobs, you don't have a zone there, right? You're constantly working on edge, and I'm sure these jobs would prefer just working 6 hours a day and call it a day.
But isn't that the same kind of zone? Just not your own personal zone, but like being in the zone with the team?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe I can't. I mean, yeah, but it's a different zone. Because you have to interact with people who might not want to interact. And if you're in your artist zone, you sit there and you had your vision meetings, you had your alignments and baseline meetings, and you know what you have to do, you know what is required, you just do. And then you deliver, and there we go. And you
don't want to be bothered all the time by some producer who's asking, how are you progressing?
Well, a producer probably shouldn't be asking how are you progressing, but yeah, that's true. I don't know. Speaking of producers, I just want to quickly mention I got Anna Donlon's title wrong in the first episode. Sorry about that. She is executive producer, not creative director. Executive producer, according to Mythic Quest, great TV show, it's has more power than a creative director. But you know, I got her title wrong. Just saying. And there you go.
Nice for
clarifying. Just wanted to throw that in. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, now that you mentioned like a free-to-play game with Valorant, Call of Duty Warzone dropped, and we tried it out.
Yeah.
What's your first opinion about the new free-to-play Battle Royale Call of Duty game that now everyone can try out?
Ooh, and they have 150 players. Let's first set the stage of like my experience with Battle Royales. I've played all of them, and I've played all of them between 300 and 1,500 hours each, like individually. And from H1Z1 to the only one I haven't played is Battle of Tarkov, Battle to whatever Tarkov. Just didn't find the time. But from H1Z1, Fortnite, PUBG, I've played them all, and through their death and life cycles. And and Apex, of course, a lot of Apex. And what I always love about Battle Royale, which is not what brought me to the genre, is the action, and that there's punishment, and that there's a clear winner, and you can that's what competitive gaming is all about. You want to dominate over other people. You want to get better and be the best. And how cool is it that you're the best of 150 people instead of you're the best of your match of 9, right?
Or
so that's
even.
super cool. Yeah. And then when you look at the history of Battle Royales, and you look at the Arma 2 mod, the PUBG PlayerUnknown's Arma 2 mod, those are very tactical. Clunky as well, and poorly optimized, but very tactical. You play for 30 minutes just looting, and then you either get killed from the side, or you win, or you kill people. And in Apex, and to an extent even more in Call of Duty, it's action-packed, you know? You go into the game, and there's like 1 or 2 minutes of looting, then you have your primary guns, you start with ammo, you start with a gun, and you just go ham in the gunfights. And the entire game design, the entire loop of the game is designed around fighting and coming back. Right? It's not punishing you for not paying attention. It has a lot of mechanics that bring you back. When you die, you fight in a 1v1 gulag, which is a lot of people standing around throwing rocks at you while you 1v1 someone, and the winner of this 1v1 gets respawned. You can buy your mates back into the game on buy zones. And when you can buy, sell, revives, there's just so many things you can use that make fighting and losing the fight hurt less, which in return makes you as a player psychologically more inclined to fight.
Oh yeah, they're completely staying on brand with the Call of Duty thing, amping up the intensity in every aspect. And I think the Battle Royale games have improved a lot over the last 3 years. Naturally, of course, they always develop further. And for the first Battle Royale games where you played in a squad or with a team, it was always frustrating for the one guy or the other 2 guys who died significantly more early than maybe the last man standing. Mm-hmm. And now with Apex being one of the first ones where they introduced you actually can be revived, you can be brought back into the game when you collect the crate. And now Call of Duty actually giving you something in the meantime to do while the others are still in the game, like the gulag situation. And adding on top of out of that, they are really working to make the genre a little bit more entertaining for everybody and not for the ones who are still alive. So you basically can stay much longer alive than in the other games. And I think that's a big improvement for keeping your players engaged throughout the game and lowering the frustration level throughout.
Yeah, it does have some drawbacks. For example, the general game length is way longer, right? Because if you play Fortnite or PUBG, you can have games that are 30 seconds. You drop, you die, new game. And you play like 4 to 10 games per session. But in Call of Duty, all games are at least 10, 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, and then this time is just gone. And there's some problems with the current game loop, like the meta loop that has established itself, what's happening in the meta game. I've won with we have won who I'm playing with from the Plague Doctors. We have won 10, 15 matches. We played yesterday and half of the day before. And what you essentially do is you find cash is shared. You can drop cash to your mates. So you find enough cash, 6,000 in this case. And when you have, as a team, has 6,000 cash, which is after like 30 seconds, 1 minute, you pull your cash, you order a supply drop, and this supply drop gives you a loadout, which is your Modern Warfare loadouts that are shared into the Warzone game. And this just gives you a full kit. You do this, 2 minutes later, you call this loadout, you have a full kit. No looting necessary. Nothing more to be done. You just go fight. And you order a perk that's called Ghost. Ghost makes you invisible on all UAVs, and except the advanced UAV, but all UAVs, heartbeat scanners, thermal optics, you're just invisible on those things. So it's a must-have. So there's only one red perk that is actually viable. And there's only one yellow perk that's viable. It's the one that shows you the footsteps. And competitively, as I'm saying. And this just, even though the looting and everything feels very satisfying, smooth, the gameplay is amazing, there's so many systems in place, tactical sprinting, sliding, super smooth experience. That is kind of like, they made these things too strong. This loadout box needs to cost 15K, not 6K. Yeah.
It's a cool connection to the people who bought Modern Warfare. They can keep their kits they have perfectioned over the last month. In a way. But now that you said like all the mechanics with the movement and sliding and climbing everywhere, a lot of the levels are scattered. Like if you have played the old Modern Warfare games as well, right? The previous Call of Duty games?
For sure. Until Modern Warfare 2, I've played everything. But after that, like Black Ops and the other, I haven't.
Oh yeah, because what you immediately notice when you're familiar with the Call of Duty franchise, the whole world map is made up of like, it's in some parts, not all of it, but in some parts made up of the old Call of Duty maps. There's the airport situation and the quarry and the gulag, of course, returning. So they are also in the level design staying on brand and doing a little bit of fan service in that way. And what I feel from playing the map, it doesn't, even though it's probably, let's say, a lot bigger than the Apex and Fortnite maps. It doesn't feel as big because you, of course, have a higher player count. And then, of course, naturally you encounter more players faster, even though the space is a lot bigger. And the way they designed the overall map with all these different point of interest zones is like also very classic battle royale. You go from the airport, you can get to the IKEA location. How's it called in the game? I can't remember. But
me neither. Superstore, I think.
Superstore, exactly. And then from the superstore, you can get to the hospital, and then from the hospital to the quarry. Even though it doesn't make sense as much sense from a narrative perspective, but it's gameplay serving, and it flows very well the overall map when you play it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice. I noticed that the maps are very well designed, right? And each individual location feels completely different and has a different game flow, and that's super cool. And everything is tied together. So the Dark Souls approach of, all the locations you're fighting being somehow related to the other locations and still seeing them from the distance. So when you're fighting on top of the on top of the TV station, you can have these glass things that are everywhere that you can see and fight with the people on the bottom. But if you're inside the bottom, this entire thing is its entire map, right? So this feels very cool, and I knew that this is exceptional level design wise, but I didn't know that most of it was like tribute maps to old Call of Duties, which is super cool if you're a fan of the franchise.
I wouldn't say it's the majority, but there are of course significant callbacks. And what I also noticed is that, apart from Fortnite, obviously, it's one of the maps that is like has a very high emphasis on having vertical gameplay. You can almost enter like a ridiculous amount of buildings and like so much interior space. You can get on a lot of roofs and stuff, which are like 4 or 5 stories tall and not only 1 or 2 stories tall, like in PUBG for most of the time. So naturally, that's pretty cool that they're switching up the formula a little bit more in that direction as well. So that's nice to see. I always like climbing or getting up some vantage point and then maybe jump down. You open your parachute up and get to the next one. It's like a high level of parkour elements.
The parachute mechanic is so well done, right? You can always pop your parachute. You can even cut it and repop it in air. Doesn't matter. You can jump off every building and pop the parachute, and propels you forward very quickly as well, actually. So it's just all around. It feels like playing Mirror's Edge. Inside of
on steroids.
Yeah, on steroids, exactly. Mirror's Edge on steroids. That's what it feels like, the movement system. So it's Apex movement system, but improved. And that's cool. That's very cool too. And they have the ping system of Apex as well. And
they are all copying each other in that direction. What I also liked a lot about the game is like, which the Call of Duty games have always been famous for, but the audio design is like super supporting everything like all the systems, and then when you loot stuff, you get these heavy guitar riffs, which give you like this US Army feeling.
100%.
Yeah, and like it's again, as with every Call of Duty, it's for the people who like the military stuff. It's military porn basically. So yeah,
it kind of feels like you're watching Transporter, or you watch Crank, the old Jason Statham movie. This game feels like that movie feels, right? Or Mad Max. You're constantly on edge, and you have these. Everything is so the user experience and the user interface and all the feedback that you're getting as the player. When you open a loot box, when you dash around, when you get hit markers, all of these sounds are so satisfying that you would even have fun just shooting at random objects.
Oh damn, the hit marker sound must be the most satisfying sound effect in all of gaming. Like this,
probably
even got memed into oblivion with the Doritos commercials and stuff like that. Oh,
and the 420 MLG
videos. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But speaking of intensity, there's another game trailer I saw recently for Doom Eternal, and this game is intense. Like played it last year at Gamescom, and then they delayed it a little bit. It was originally, I think, supposed to come out last year at some point in November or something. Mm-hmm. But I guess they needed some more time to polish the stuff and probably crunch as well. But damn, it looks as intense, and if not even more intense, like the Doom from 2016. It's like, I can't play that stuff for more than an hour. Then after that, you're mentally drained. It's like 60 minutes per session or level. Totally amped up, totally on the edge. You have, again, the intense heavy metal stuff going on, supporting your gameplay. And then you're having the shotgun, jumping around, killing thousands of demons. And it's basically, you are the boss fight. And what can the enemies do? It's like, it's all about the crazy empowerment you get as a player. That looked very nice. Also, from an artistic perspective, looks very intriguing.
Well, I never fully got into the Doom franchise, but I do respect him for doing all those little, from a design perspective now again, from a combat design perspective, empowering the player, right? There's two kinds of games. Taking power away from the player, which is horror games like Amnesia, and there's empowering games, which are most games. And Doom is one of the prime examples for empowering the player. And they cheat so many times, right? For example, the last 25% of your life bar, or 20% of your life bar, they are as strong or as wide, essentially, as the first 80%, but the player is never told that. And they have all these fake and fallout and fallback mechanics in place that make the player feel more badass than they actually are, which is kind of building in a dark pattern, but it's a pattern that makes the player feel even greater about himself and better about himself. Similar like in BioShock Infinite, where the first bullet of every enemy always misses. These are just things that like people don't notice, but I think every first bullet misses and the last bullet can't kill you. So if a bullet would kill you, you instead don't die and only the next bullet can kill you. And these are all things that a player would never realize are happening, but make the player feel better and feel like a better player than they actually are.
Oh, that's 100% the way you get the feeling from playing the Doom Eternal thing and watching all the trailers of it. Like even last year, even 7 months before release, it already felt that way. So they get that amount of polish in that area already in place. It already felt satisfying. Guess it was all about doing the polishing for the rest of the game as well, and not only what they showed at the demo. Isn't that always the first thing most studios focus on when they create a game, like doing the vertical slice and then trying to do one crazy polished level, which you then use for the marketing and which should be representative of the whole experience? Of course, you can't always fulfill on that. If you, for example, Uncharted 4, they showed as a reveal the Madagascar level was like probably the best set piece in the whole game. And then you expect maybe the whole game to be like that. Do you ever have that feeling?
You're going to be disappointed then. I think there's two things happening at the same time. Let's take all the concepting phase away and all the pre-production. And there's two things happening. You want to establish the core mechanics. You want to establish the for everyone non game dev listening, you want to establish the one thing that makes the game feel fun, right? Easy example, Beat Saber. You hit things with your lightsaber to the music, and that should feel satisfying and work well. Or Assassin's Creed, running around, parkouring, climbing, that has to work well. Way more work than making something like Beat Saber or Mario Jump satisfying. But essentially, they're taking the same spots in importance by being an integral part of the core feeling of this part of the game. So the core experience. And then there's the other thing happening, which is something like the proof of concept vision. That's what it's called. So you have this one prototype that is communicating the core experience and how it should feel. And then you have this other thing that's happening that is supposed to show off the game, like the vertical slice. What systems will this game have? How will this game look? How will the atmosphere be? And this paired together with this core experience is the thing that you should be focusing on, I think, as a AAA studio. And by extent, also as a lesser, smaller studio.
Is that the same? You guys also focus for the prototype? Like trying to get the core experience first and then...
Yeah, we kind of founded the studio on the core belief that take one thing, make it fun, and then layer on top of that. Because you can always add systems, you can always add established layers in other games. If you're making a roguelike, you can throw shop systems at the game and all kind of progression systems. And they will always work because they're proven to work. But what you need to get down right is the one thing that makes your game unique and the one thing that makes your game, essentially. And that needs to be cool. So yeah, we focus on that. We went through 6 or 7 prototypes of entirely different movement and core systems. Back then, you still had to give input on the beat and on the rhythm, and now it's all a passive thing, and it's just changed completely. And I think we did the same thing. We're still not fully there yet, but this is what studios have to focus their minds on, pinpointing that aspect of satisfying fun in their core.
Yeah, basically, that's the process of basically finding the fun, right? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned layers before. It's personally, I feel like a lot of games are trying to work on or build on or polish these additional layers before even having figured out what the actual second-to-second thing you're doing in the game is and what is actually fun about it, right? So, I can't name a specific example now, but I sometimes think when I play games, okay, that's what I'm doing in the second-to-second thing. Best example, Death Stranding. The second-to-second thing is walking from A to B, maneuvering over the different obstacles. That's the second-to-second thing. And then the layers on top with the branching thing, you can build stuff in the world, and then the way you stack your crates on top of it, add another layer of difficulty in a core sense. But the main thing you do is walking from A to B, and if you can make that fun enough, which some people obviously raved and loved the game, some people didn't. I didn't find this as enjoyable as others, and I think that's a game where the core experience isn't as attractive to me, even though it seems really polished, because this core thing of walking has a lot of layers to it, like the stacking and then maneuvering and balancing, and then you can play stuff in the world where you can climb up ladders and
you can hide a lot of things and unfun things by stacking layers, I would say. There's prime examples for games who have everything right. For example, Super Meat Boy. The core, the second-to-second loop is you spawn a level and you try to get to the end and not die, right? And you do this, and then if you die, you spawn again. If you finish a level, you progress to the next level. There you go. This is second. You jump. And you wall run, you jump, and you wall climb and wall jump. That's it. And then you add things to that. There's you have this level, okay, want to get from A to B with the thing, second to second. And then you add things like the bandages that you can collect to unlock more characters. or that you need to reach, or that you add a time limit that you want to hit so the player gets the most stars, or you have this overall deep progression going on where you're after this loop, when you finish the level, you progress to the next level and to the next zone. The new zone introduces new mechanics, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper until there's 20 layers on top of each other, and feels amazing.
It's the classic thing platformers do a lot. If you just look at Hollow Knight or Ori and the Blind Forest, where you only have like a very few mechanics, not a lot, but the more stuff you unlock from the levels, the more abilities you get, and then you can backtrack and open up new stuff with the new abilities you got at some other part. Yeah, that's true. Oh, by the way, have you read that for Ori, the new Ori game, Will of the Wisp, they completely made it happen on a remote basis with over 50 people or around 50 people? A complete game production, completely done remote with 50 developers.
Okay, it's not the first time that it's completely remote. I mean, Mordhau, the chivalry-inspired medieval first-person fighting game, was also, those are a remote-only studio. They don't have a location, but I think there were only 10 or 11 developers. So making that work with 50 people, how do you even make that happen? Are they all sitting in one giant Discord call and everyone is doing their
imagine
things?
50 people in one Zoom channel and then one or two miss to mute their microphone and then, oh god, the chaos.
Oh my god.
You probably have to split into a lot smaller calls and meetings, and then that's where probably the producers again have to make some magic happen, that everyone stays in the loop if you are not in the same office and can't brief everyone in the exact same moment.
And also keep everyone I think people are undervaluing how big the keeping people engaged and motivated part of the producer's job, right? If you see the game progressing, if you see the game, the artists putting in new effects or new characters, even if you're a programmer and you don't give anything about art, you still enjoy seeing your stuff come together, right? And not like seeing this hands-on and only seeing it by you pulling the game, the new build yourself, and having to look it up yourself, and you're not just walking by the artists or the QA testers booths to see what's happening there. It's not easy, I think, to make happen.
Which often happens towards the end of production. Seeing everything come together, especially in bigger studios, working on it for 3 years, and then for the first 2 years you don't really see the magic click, and at some point when everything's in there, all the systems, all the VFX and all the graphic assets, and then you finally see, oh, that's actually pretty cool. That feeling must be amazing.
Can also be a total disaster, right? If it doesn't come together and you just spend 5 years working on this game. But well, that's what the proof of concept and core experience are for, to prove that it's working and it will work and it will be a good game. Because if you have these two things figured out, then it doesn't matter if one of the systems isn't good. You can fuck up the shop system if everything else is good. That can happen. It's not a big deal. Shit happens. It's an insane production. There's 2,000 people working on a AAA game, sometimes 3, 4, 5,000. Bad stuff is going to get into the game, but it's not the end of the world, right? As long as you strive to make whatever you're working on be the best it can be for the game, and in coherence with the vision of the game, of course.
And even though after you have like this vertical slice locked in, you always keep iterating even on the things that have already been proved in the concept, or have already been proven in the concept, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Easiest example is probably, I don't know if you follow Twitter at all this week, the makers of Celeste posted a little I don't know, sneak peek on some things they built into the game. Celeste is a platformer, a pixel art platformer, and what makes it feel so great is, for example, if you stand at a ledge and you jump up, it auto displaces your player model a little bit so you don't jump into the edge. If you walk over an edge and you press jump a little bit too late and your player model would actually not be able to jump anymore, you can still jump. It's a very interesting Twitter thread. Check it out. It has like 8 or 9 of these secrets shown, and this is what makes the game feel great. And it's a lot of work that you don't really see unless it's not there. So these are the systems that you cannot fuck up.
Oh
but
yeah,
everything else.
the polishing in the last little details. I mean, most of the time, the first 80% come pretty fast, and then making the last 20%, making it really stand out, making it feel insane. And that's probably what also takes the most amount of time, like the Pareto principle thing, like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah,
that's
the 80-20 rule.
Happening at a lot of studios, even like in Naughty Dog, for example, when Nathan Drake in the animation department like takes out his gun over the shoulders, and the shoulder straps are also animated, and the small little character touches he does there when just pulling out his gun, which the most basic, let's not say basic, but that's the most basic action a player character can do. Not basic animation, of course, it's complex, but like even there are like so many small details everywhere where you can push the envelope and juice it up. That's insane.
Yeah, just ask the original developers of Assassin's Creed on them getting down the climbing system and the animations for the climbing system, how the animations are blending into each other. I think that was one of the most. I read an interview like 3 or 4 years ago. I can't find it right now, but 100%. These guys were frustrated, but they were so happy when they pulled it off in the end that it feels great to run around and climb shit up, and it feels fluent and works great. Hard task.
I mean, it took them 4 or 5 games until this free flow system was optimized and iterated to perfection. I think the first time I was not frustrated by it was probably Syndicate or not even. Yeah, it was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I think, where they switched to the newer engine. So it took them a lot of iterations where they kept down the error count in movements you can do when climbing up.
It still happens.
I remember
sometimes.
when climbing up this huge tower in Florence in Assassin's Creed 2, and was this super crazy challenge. And now in Assassin's Creed Audience, it feels completely on autopilot. Everything you do, you just press W and shift, whatever you mapped your layout, and he just auto zigzags and zaps on top of whatever you want to climb. So there's no real challenge anymore in the climbing thing. But back in the day, it was like this huge achievement when you were making it happen, climbing the cathedral in Florence, and you had the satisfaction. Now it's like, okay.
I enjoyed that challenge. Give me back that challenge. I don't want this game to be on autopilot. I understand why. I know the target audience of this game, and I know who's playing this game, and that it's mainly optimized for console. I understand this, but still, I enjoyed the first 2 Assassin's Creeds, and I love that climbing was hard. Of course, sometimes frustrating if you're running towards a ledge and there's a clear thing you want to jump to, and it's the only thing, and then he doesn't do it, then this is very frustrating. But there being a challenge in the climbing, for sure, I'd be down for that.
It's probably motivating me right now to play a little bit more Assassin's Creed. I'm still getting the itch again, even though I said some weeks ago that I'm probably not gonna finish Origins, but now probably gonna spend some hours. Maybe even today, after we wrap up the episode.
Oh yeah. Which has to happen soon. We are almost out of time. We are out of time. But I just want to say I played a lot of Sea of Thieves last couple of weeks with as we mentioned in one of the episodes, and I played a lot of Black Flag. I'm in a very piratey mood, and they accidentally made a fantastic pirate game. I don't even care that it's an Assassin's Creed game. I never leave the Animus. I just play this game for its pirate value, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah, to this day, I think it's also my most favorite Assassin's Creed. It's like they got the atmosphere absolutely perfect, and the ship naval combat. I know some people absolutely hate the naval combat because they're buying us for being the assassin part of things, but it's such a great system and it was so enjoyable.
Yeah.
The progression of your ship, making it stronger, and you could really feel your ship getting stronger. There's a lot of progression systems where it doesn't really matter, to be fair, or you can't feel it as much when you progress from level to level. But in that game, if you didn't have the one specific certain upgrade, you couldn't fight the legendary ship or do the challenges that were required on level, I don't know, 25 or 24. I can't remember.
I mean, I play the game, of course, because it's fun and it looks great and plays well, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. But I play the game because pirate feel like an awesome badass pirate, and the sea shanties and them treating you like a captain after having freed them and earned it. Just an amazing feeling. Definitely recommend the game.
They 100% delivered on that.
Even if you don't like Assassin's Creed, I recommend, and you like pirates, I recommend the game for sure.
It's probably the best pirate game out there.
Yeah. Well, Sea of Thieves is pretty cool with friends.
True.
But okay, yeah, I think that wraps up the episode. Thank you for listening in, peeps. What's our outro? Who do we want to shout out? Got a few patron peeps coming in. And if you text us your favorite game or just text us anything, then we will shout you out. Otherwise, we won't, because that is privacy, right? If you don't give us the okay to shout you out, we won't.
Yes.
Because we can't leak your nickname or your real name. But if you give us the okay, you text us your favorite game, we might talk about the game, we might shout you out. And otherwise, thank you for listening.
Make sure to stay in touch with us on Twitter @IdiotsIndustry or on Instagram, Industry Idiots, wherever you want. We are on all channels, basically, have private profiles, and then you can keep in touch with us and see when new episodes drop. Or follow us.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we would appreciate it. And hear you next episode. Bye.
Bye.